Looking and drunk.
Good looking and drunk. Drunk and good looking, right?
Some people call it that. Some people call it the meow meow song or the mailbox song.
And we are recording, so whenever you are ready, go ahead.
Okay. Do I stare at that camera?
Yep, right here. Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Blair, and we're at Red Art Studio with Dave Thomas from Jackson Famous. And hey, Dave.
Hey, Blair.
Are you happy to be here?
I'm very happy to be here.
I'm happy. I'm glappy. I'm nervous.
You're glappy?
I'm glappy.
Yeah, and I'm happy you're here, too.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell me a little about Jackson Famous.
Jackson Famous was a project I started at the end of 2011. Of course, I had been touring and writing and recording with everybody and their grandmother, basically.
Yeah.
And I had some songs that I had written or co-written on other people's albums that, you know, got produced a certain way or whatever. And I got tired of hearing, you know, other people's versions of my songs, and like I would always have like a bone to pick with it. I'd be like, no, you should have done it this way. And around about that same time, I got a job at Jackson Records as the band leader for the studio band.
Ooh.
And, you know, courtesy of Jimmy Exum and Rayburn Anthony, and met Bridges Holwell, who's the engineer, who sadly is moving, so he's leaving us, which makes me very sad.
Makes me sad too.
But anyway, so I had this opportunity as the band leader to do a lot of time in the studio, and so I ended up striking up a friendship with Bridges and started demoing some of my newer stuff. And then I saw an opportunity to record the album that I wanted to record, that I wanted to listen to, because that's what all of this was all about. I wanted to record the record that I wanted to hear because no one else was.
Yeah.
And so that's why I did this whole thing, and I recruited Colton Parker and Skylar Sage to be my rhythm section through the whole album, you know. And these guys are like, I met Skylar when he was like 7 because his mom was the background singer of this band that I was in when I was 19, playing like Elvis songs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we would play at the Graceland Visitor Center and stuff, you know. And so when I met when I re-met Skylar, it was like, I didn't really remember, but he was like, you don't remember coming over to the house and you were practicing with Mike Walker, and then you'd come and play Mortal Kombat with me and Bo, and we'd kick your butt? I had no recollection, but apparently that happened, you know.
So where did you get the horn instruments on your album?
The horn instruments?
Isn't there horns? It's not horns, it's strings.
It's strings.
Strings.
Yeah. Well, that's a good story too, because I play the cello. I've been playing the cello since I was 15.
Okay.
And it was because my dad played cello with the Jackson Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
And for many years, decades. And so he taught me back when I was 15, and I never lost the love for it. You know, I'd kind of stay in practice. You know, not all the way, but you know, it's kind of like riding a bike. And but my mom plays violin and viola.
Oh.
And you know, she lives a few hours away, but I saw an opportunity to catch her one weekend while she was in town. We had this marathon string session at Jackson Records, an 8-hour long string session that my mom worked for free on.
So that's your mom playing on the album?
Yeah, the violin and the viola. I had her triple track everything so that it would sound like a full string section. You know, and I used a lot of production tricks that I was aware of from the various bands that I've recorded and played with over the years, and I try to keep schooled about the things that bands that I love and artists that I love did in the studio to achieve unique and beautiful sounds, because you know, to me it's part of my craft. And it's irresponsible of me to not stay up on that and be as good at that as I possibly can.
Right. would you say your influences are?
Oh my goodness.
Or
We don't have enough time.
We don't have enough
But,
time. Who's
but
one of the main ones?
I'll tell you what. I have a tattoo of Beethoven on my leg. If that says anything.
I didn't know that.
When people ask me, so who's your favorite, the Beatles or Elvis? And I always say the Rolling Stones.
Of course.
To me, the Stones were just this, it was this perfect storm. And of course, I'm a huge Who fan too. But I love that chaos or near chaos of rock and roll, where it's just like you get to this edge and you're looking right over the abyss and you're about to fall in, but you don't. You bring it back. All about that.
So, how long have you been playing in Jackson? Is it like, as far as the Jackson scene? What is
I have been
thoughts on that?
I have been a part of the Jackson scene
Yeah.
in bars pretty much since I was 18, so 20 years now.
Wow.
I've created a musical legacy here in Jackson, Tennessee that will last a lunchtime. But I was playing, when my before we moved to Jackson, I was playing, and of course, my first or second year in town, I was 12 or 13. I saw the movie Great Balls of Fire, and it was all over.
I love that movie.
It was all over. It was like, okay, no more classical. I'm playing this. I want to set pianos on fire. Not so much that I wanted to marry my cousin or anything, but
Thank God.
yeah.
Trying to think of the next question.
Well, you were asking me about my history. You can ask me about some of the bands that I've played with, or I can answer this call on camera.
All right.
This will be great.
Dave has a call. We'll be back.
Oh, this is gonna be great. What's up, Jamie? How are you?
All right, we're gonna go back into it. Record.
This camera's gonna have so many shots of me just like
Yeah, just looking.
just staring at it. Like a black hole. Right here. That's great.
It is recording still, but I'll not show you.
We gotta-
Okay, good. Thank you, Nick.
It's okay.
All right, we're ready. Go ahead.
Okay, Dave. So I know you play with a lot of different bands. Name a couple of them.
Well, let's see. I started out when I was 18 years old. I got a job playing with a band called the Voodoo Hippies, and they ended up becoming Island Def Jam recording artist Full Devil Jacket.
Whoa, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Voodoo Hippies kind of morphed into that, but towards the tail end of my stint with the Voodoo Hippies, I had met a couple of musicians through some mutual friends who played with Little Milton, who's this blues guy, contemporary of B.B. King's. He died back in 2004, but this was back in 1997. So, I'm like 19 years old, and, I hear, tour bus and like traveling the world and getting to fly on an airplane and getting paid for it.
Yeah, score.
and my eyes were just wide, and I was just at a perfect time in my life where I could do that because I wasn't in school anymore, and I wasn't going to go to college because both of my parents being teachers, the last thing I wanted to do when I turned 18 was go to college and get more schooling. It was like, I want to join the circus.
I'm glad you didn't.
That's what I want to do. I want on the job training, no student loans, no chaperones. I want to learn my trade and learn it from people who are out there pounding the pavement doing the business. So I played with Little Milton for over a year. Went from his band to Denise LaSalle's band, and I was her touring keyboard player, one of her touring keyboard players for 5 years. So once again, touring the world
For 5 years.
And closing every show with "Don't Mess with My Tutu." It was fantastic. No, seriously, I loved it. But what would happen is I would come home and I noticed that nobody remembered that I was a musician and that I was doing it, and getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So I'd come home and like, get no respect. And so there was a band towards the end of my stint with Denise LaSalle that I kept on hearing about called the Smoking Jackets. And they're like, they're making waves in Jackson, Tennessee or whatever, And I was like, well, I gotta check these guys out and see what they're all about. Well, I called them up, got one of their numbers, and I said, y'all don't have a keyboard player, do you? And they were like, no. I was like, well, you do now. and that's basically how I introduced myself to them. I came on pretty strong, and I played with the Smoking Jackets for about 2 months, but we broke up, or I left the band, and then everybody else followed me out of the band, and then we reformed without one other person that was in the band as the Grove.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that was how the Grove was born. So me and Jonathan Singleton and Scotty Austin, we all, teamed up, and it was like, the Avengers,
Oh yeah, because the Grove was amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I still talk to musicians that tell me that they were influenced by what we did back in the day. We were just trying to put food on the table,
Yeah.
But after my stint with the Grove, I started playing with Jasmine Cain. And I had known her for a while. I'd met her back in 2003. We were introduced by a mutual friend of ours, and so by the time 2006, 2007 rolled around, she decided she wanted me to be part of her band, and I toured with her for about 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we went all over the country playing biker events, Sturgis every year.
You've toured with an amazing group of people.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really fortunate in the breaks that I've gotten.
Yeah.
And
Well, you deserve it. You're amazing.
well, thank you very much.
I will praise you.
I appreciate that.
So where did Jackson Famous come from?
Okay, well,
I've been curious.
I guess the gist of it is I'm not world famous. I'm Jackson famous. Or infamous if you happen to be talking to someone on staff at the Jackson Police Department.
So you've been playing in Jackson for 20 years.
Yes. What I tell people is if there's been a buzzworthy up-and-coming band in Jackson in the last 20 years, chances are I've been fired from it. 20 years ago, so when you started playing in Jackson compared to today, do you think? Well, I was playing in Jackson before. I was just playing with garage bands and we couldn't play in bars.
As far as the community of musicians, being a musician myself, do you think it's growing in Jackson right now?
I think it is growing. I mean, there's always been strong roots and great talent and personalities, and I was really fortunate. I had a lot of really great teachers right off the bat. When I was 18 or 19, Wes Henley from Highland House Studios, he started tapping me to write charts for sessions that he would have.
Wow.
And so I'd be playing on the session and then writing the charts for the session, so I get paid both ways, which is awesome. And I wanted to be versatile and be able to function and be productive and useful and serve a purpose in all these different areas of the music business, whether it was the studio end of it or live performance, I was interested in it all. I wanted to know more and more.
Yeah.
So
that's what you were made for.
Thank you. I think so, but I'm a little biased.
Well, tell me about the song. Is it Unlucky 13?
No, it's Lucky.
Lucky. Sweet. I was born on Friday 13th, so I think it's always been Lucky.
Yeah. Lucky 13 was a fluke, okay? I was a couple of songs light for the record that I wanted because, I hate when people put 8 songs on a record
Yeah.
and call it an album.
Yeah.
Or there's 12 songs, but the album is like 40 minutes long. I was like, I feel gypped, It's like if I paid $10 or $15 for an album and it was like
You want it to last a pretty good.
Yeah, I want the full meal deal, I want the
You want it to be an unfilmed movie soundtrack.
Yeah, I want the
Right.
most bang for my buck. And so, I wanted an album that was at least an hour long. And my album clocks in at an hour and 3 minutes and some change. So I'm happy with it. It's 13 tracks, and it tells a story. It's a complete work. And of course, my parents both being classical musicians, there's this idea of, complete works of classical music that are, they're standalone, they're standalone songs, but then they're part of a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. And this idea of just, taking the most focused and thoughtful approach to something that also has to incorporate a fair amount of inspiration. And that's where what Lucky 13 happened in the studio. I wrote it in the studio and we recorded it the night.
Wow.
I wrote it in the day, and at night we recorded it. And we tracked it at we did take 6, and take 6 was pretty good. I was pretty happy with take 6, and my voice was going. I could feel it going. I knew that I didn't, because we recorded it live. It was drums, bass, piano, and my vocal all at the same time. So I'm
awesome.
sitting at the piano singing my vocal live. I told everybody, I was like, I just want one more take. Just give me one more take. It might suck. Just give me one more. And take 7 was the one. That was the one we ended up using, which I thought was great. Lucky number 7 ended up being the take for Lucky 13.
Awesome.
And the lyrics are basically about, luck is one of the you make your own. You're gonna get some good breaks, you're gonna get some bad breaks, but if you can't have a sense of humor about it, you're missing the point.
You're gonna stay unlucky, pretty much.
Yeah.
So what about life ruin?
Stop for a second.
Yeah, we'll stop.
So now what we need to do is turn towards this camera.
Oh.
Yep, and we changed this since you're.
Yes.
And let's take let's watch Jackson Famous performing Lucky 13.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. So yeah, so you can just go and turn right to this. Go ahead.
No, to turn again. Come on.
You should do a Mr. Rogers shoe toss.
Point my flip flop at it.
Won't you be my neighbor and listen to Lucky 13?
All right, now let's listen to Jackson Famous perform Lucky 13.
All right.
Life Ruiner is the next song.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about Life Ruiner.
Well, the name pretty much says it all.
It makes me sad to say it.
And once again, spell check. It's like the bane of my existence. It's like unfilmed is not a word. The name of the album is Unfilmed Movie Soundtrack. Spell check says unfilmed is not a word. Screw you, spell check.
Check Urban Dictionary.
The thing is, I like being creative and inventing words every now and then, and because I actually know the English language, I can break the rules.
Yeah.
It's the people that don't know it in the first place that cut. No.
Oh, don't worry, that was cut a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Start over.
Just say start with the Life Ruiner or something.
Yeah.
We're good for a
You're
cut.
right.
So, Life Ruiner. Just say it all smiling. Life Ruiner.
Yeah, the name says it all. I've made some poor life and career decisions in the past, and that's an understatement, by the way. But it's one of those things where, I always learned some valuable lessons from it. And, it's like, I also, there's a certain amount of tragic comic element to the way I approach these things, because, it's like, I don't feel like I'm honestly alive if I don't derail myself every now and then.
Yeah.
And so Life Ruiner's it's kind of that anti-Midas touch thing where everything you touch turns to, it's,
What is it? I'm just kidding.
yeah. Yeah. You know what.
I know what it
know
is.
What. You know what.
It's a very good song, though.
Thank you very much.
I've got to say, I'm listening to it repetitively as well today.
Fantastic.
For 3 days.
Let's have a listen.
Let's have a listen.
I mean, that's really just perfect. I'm not even gonna cut that or make you redo it. That's great. And by the way, Dave, I think, was the first one to do the whole looking at the camera.
I know. That's what I loved about it.
His episode was the first one, and he gave me this great idea to do this, and now he's like mocking himself.
Literally, meow, meow.
That's right. That's it. You got it. Yeah, nobody calls it by its actual name, so I'll accept that.
Okay, meow, meow.
The name of the song is Good Looking and Drunk.
Good looking
but no
and,
one cares.
And drunk.
They call it the Meow Meow song because when I play it live, usually I have a story that takes from between 3 to 10 minutes to tell, depending on how much I feel like subjecting the audience to torture.
If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's fabulous.
It's just a chance for me to kind of let my suppressed inner stand-up comedian kind of come out and play and mess with people, because I enjoy doing that.
What made you write the song?
Well, I don't want to take any of the mystery away from it. I really, and I'll tell you what, it's one of those things where, if people knew the actual circumstances, it's one of the most mundane things in the world. But, I think that that if you reveal too much about the creative process and what goes into creating something, you're gonna end up messing up the experience for someone who I want people to bring their own stuff to the table. To me, one of the things that's great about art is that the viewer or the listener brings their own experiences to bear on the art. It's not a passive entertainment. It's not something that you just let wash over you. Right. It's something that that you can be an active participant in, and you should draw your own meanings and conclusions, and have your own little stories going on in your head about what might have inspired that.
Let's listen to a Good Looking and Drunk. Meow, meow.
I was gonna say here.
I always feel like, hi. Dave.
Blair.
We're going to talk about one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
Countdown.
Sweet.
It is the best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's great.
All right.
Tell me about it.
This song means a lot to me.
I can tell why.
I sometimes I write songs in pieces, and I've had songs. Well, I've had songs that I've been working on for years that still aren't finished. Yeah. And then I've had songs that I had kind of maybe a little piece of, and then something happens and provides the necessary inspiration for me to go ahead. But I don't force. I stopped long ago trying to force things along down the pipe, because it always it never helps in terms of me to art that I'm proud of to call mine. I can't rush it. I have to let it do its thing and happen in its due course. And Countdown was one of those songs that it probably took me from the time that I wrote the beginning of it to the event that spawned me finishing it and going ahead and it's probably 6 to 7 months.
Oh wow.
To go ahead and then of course one of the beauties of the studio is that you can go in there and you can dress it up, in its most vibrant and glorious colors, with the different things that you can do production wise. And one of the watchwords for my whole record was I wanted to create a record that sounded like you could have still recorded it without Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So like very little pitch correction or like, cutting stuff up. It's like, I wanted something that sounded honest because it was honest. It was something that,
that's one of the best parts about it. Even for the first line, it's just, all right. He means this.
Because there's a warmth and a reality that to me is missing from so many modern recordings because they just take all the humanity out of it.
Yeah. Let's correct your voice a little bit.
It's like every drum beat is just down to the 122nd or 128th note,
Yeah.
And it's just like I think the human brain can tell that nobody is capable of playing that perfectly.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like a machine. And I think that there's a lot to be said for real musicians playing real instruments and really caring about the craft of songwriting, because it's not poetry. You can't put a poem to music and expect for it to be a song in the true sense of the word, because songwriting to me involves these being at least good at a lot of different things, from lyrics to having enough of a command of musical knowledge to be able to all of these things that, to me, that's what makes a brilliant songwriter. Somebody who can take all these disparate things and combine them to create something that in 3 or 4 minutes can just hit you
Yeah.
and sometimes overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Because those are the songs that I love. The songs that just that it's like this overwhelming sense of beauty and truth that just hits me like a ton of bricks. And
Yeah.
I love it.
So I remember hearing that song for the first time at work because I had the CD and I wanted to listen to it. So I'm waiting on a customer and that song started and I completely forgot what that customer even asked for. So I had to go pause it so I wouldn't miss it. I was like, okay, Marlboro's got you. Jesus.
Cheez-Its, aisle 7.
Jesus. Here it is.
Okay, so now that was the last one.
Shameless self-endorsement.
Yeah, shameless self-endorsement.
Hey, let me go to my car real quick and bring a copy of my record
Yes.
so she can hold it up.
Perfect.
Actually, okay.
Unless you got a copy.
I do have it, but it's in my car. I was gonna say it might be on my.
I did not see that coming. First of all, her listening to so that she could be knowledgeable about the interview, and then her being like as blown away by it as she was. It was
awesome.
a
I was
pleasant
like,
surprise.
please. I kept having to turn it down every time he did the F-bomb. Customers would come in and
Right.
be like,
All right, so thank him, welcome him to the show, and blah blah blah, and hope you had a good time. He's gonna say how much good time he had, and this is the time where you get to
Had
stay
so
and
much
stuff.
fun.
I did.
Oh, now go ahead.
I was gonna be like, it's mine. So we're what do I say? Like ending this?
Yeah, you're just gonna talk right to Dave. Yeah,
Oh.
so, yeah.
You can talk right to me.
Okay, thank God. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Blair.
So we're done. Sadly.
Oh,
Do that again.
yeah.
Say shoot if you want.
Oh shoot. Say hey, Dave. We go. So, we had a lot of fun today. I'm super honored I got to interview you.
Oh,
Super honored. I just want to show everybody. This is unfilmed movie soundtrack, and it's Jackson Famous. And can you tell everybody where to get a copy of this?
you can get it on iTunes. You can get it on CD Baby, and you can hit me up in person for it. And I've usually got copies in the trunk of my car.
Shibby.
I'm slinging those things Nelly style, man. For real.
So, same way to get you booked?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. There's a Jackson Famous Facebook page. But you know, I work all over town.
Just look for me.
It's not hard to find. It's not hard to find me playing. You know, I play with like 3 different bands, and I've got like 3 different house gigs. And you know, if you're going to visit your grandmother at one of the retirement homes here in Jackson, you might see me there too.
Sweet.
Because I do that too. I love playing music, and that's just,
You're an all-around musical veteran.
that's my thing.
It's great. I had so much fun today, Dave.
Thank you so much, Blair.
Thanks for my copy.
Absolutely.